Hello and welcome to the Squeakiest Bum Time Podcast with Mike and Laurent. It is Tuesday, February 22nd of the 22nd year of the 20th century. In this episode, the War of the Roses is resumed. For those who don't know, that's Man United versus Leeds. The title race gets a lifeline, but first, Mike, are you alive? Are you okay? And also, how am I doing? Am I okay?
No, you're not. You're never okay, though. In fact,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
happy. You're happy that Man City lost so that you have something to talk about. But on the anniversary of the miracle on ice, we sit here talking about the first time in the history of El Duchico that Tottenham Hotspur has done the double Duchico. They have taken all six available points from Manchester City after an absolute barn burner on Saturday afternoon. Tottenham 3, Manchester City 2. I jumped ahead to the most important score of the weekend. We're going to talk about it almost exclusively in this episode. If you don't care about this game, you're lying, first of all. Second, goodbye.
Awesome.
It's okay.
All right,
Laurent,
let me
hit us
go
with the scores.
to the scores. West Ham 1, Newcastle 1. The How Revolution is revolutionizing, and West Ham take a dump on their own side. They are in trouble, but West Ham playing really well. Arsenal stake their claim again. Brentford still sliding. They are up 2-1. The young kids are there. Smith Rowe and Saka with the goals. Brentford pull one back late. My beloved Brighton lose at home to Burnley. For fuck's sake, what's going on?
Tough loss.
Liverpool find a way winning 3-1 after going down versus Norwich. For a minute there, it looked like they were going to lose, but then Liverpool was like, get the fuck out.
It never really did.
And they put the hammer down. Southampton and a Hassan Hoodoo win 2-0 at home against Everton. I guess Frank Lampard's not actually that good. And then with his other friend, Mr. Gerrard, at home, losing to Watford 1-0. The Gerrard revolution not really going well. Everything's running through Coutinho. Maybe the Coutinho thing's going to fail. Chelsea get lucky. Lukaku has 7 touches in the game, 2.5, beat Crystal Palace 1-0. It was not as good a game as I thought, but Chelsea can still defend like fuckers, but no Gallagher, so we give them a pass there. Tottenham 3, Manchester City 2. Don't want to talk about that. In the War of the Roses, a classic mud, blood, thunder, fighting, wetness, soggy pitches. Leeds 2, Manchester United 4. It was a fun game, I'll admit it. And Wolves continue, and Leicester's world still sinks in the Battle of the Dogs. Wolves 2, Leicester City 1. With Rodgers getting the dreaded vote of confidence from the board. No me gusta. But let us go to the aforementioned Etihad, where we're hiding funds on our sponsored stadium. I'm sure it's overinflated because that's what everyone says about City. And City and their $1 million team, their $100 million players on the bench, and the narrative shift of 2-3. West Ham, Tottenham beating City, setting the record for expected goals on shots, something like 0.2 per shot. So that means all the chances that Spurs created were incredible chances, and they could have scored more. City dominate possession. They huff, they puff, they do nothing. They go level on a dubious penalty. I almost wrote to you and said, I didn't want it.
We're going to go through every single fucking inch of this match, starting with the 4th minute of the game. A classic throwback to the Champions League clash between us, where Son is gone and away off of an absolutely incredible pass from
Harry
should have been player of the season last year, Harry Kane.
You finished 8th. Okay, thank you.
He is by far the best player in the country. It is not close. It was on full display in every aspect of the game on Saturday, and it is irrefutable. And I welcome someone to come on the show and try.
You know what? He literally, I saw something, or I have to look it up. Someone did a study. He's literally running faster now.
Yeah, well, I believe it. He hasn't had a knee or an ankle injury in.
Yeah, he's literally fitter. Like, he looked good, like handsomer.
Yeah. Well, okay. So the interesting thing is that everybody's talking about how the fact that Manchester City had 72% possession, they had
It didn't
20 plus
matter.
shots,
It didn't matter.
and they're talking shit about Antonio Conte's tactics because it's only when his tactics at Tottenham are under scrutiny, right? Not when he's at Chelsea, not when he's at Inter Milan.
I don't.
So hold on. But so Antonio Conte earlier yesterday or late this evening, I should say, hit back. And he had the replay of the first goal, which started with Loris in net, passing it out. They basically
everything was out from the back.
Out from the back into Kane in central, who pings it all the way away to Sonny. And you have seen this in your nightmares so many times. But instead of him pushing it away, because Ederson comes sprinting out off his line, he squares it to Dejan Kulusevski, new boy, and he nutmegs Cancelo, I believe.
Yes.
And he goes whisking away into the empty net, 1-0 to Spurs. And at which point I go, well, that was hilarious. I didn't even react because A, I thought Sonny was offside. B, he was not. B, I was like, all right. I mean, well, we're going to do this. So this game was very reminiscent, watching it, of like the second half of Ajax for me, the famous Ajax game. Because the first goal, I was like, man, like now you just pissed him off. Like, why'd you go and do that?
See, I don't agree. I really felt like from a City perspective, as I rewatched the game, because I was Aveline, proud of Aveline. She did her first confession. I don't know what she said, but it was.
My dad curses a lot when he watches sports.
Yeah. So I don't know what she said, but congrats. She got her cross. She's Catholic. The guilt is now not just from me, but from God as well. So that's exciting. So I didn't get to watch the game live. I sort of followed along, but I thought as I rewatched it, I saw all the hallmarks of City are going to lose this game, or we're in trouble. The early goal, I think, gives Spurs confidence, and I think allows and gives the feeling that the defense has something to hold on to. It's not just we're defending. It was active defending, right? Yes, they were deep. Yes, it was 5-4-1 and all this stuff. That's fine. But it was not weak, sort of, we're standing here for no reason. Everyone was pushing out. Everyone attacked challenges. The whole group fought for each other in those moments. So and when Spurs attacked, they were clinical. All the attacks were really, really good.
Except for the fact that they were fighting for each other. And it didn't work, okay? Because you had Gundogan hitting the post. You had Sterling surging down the side of the play. Everybody was flying for City. And the goal comes off of, and by the way, in our match preview, I said that I felt good for no reason whatsoever. I thought that Spurs would get a draw out of this. I thought they would go 1-1, and I thought Loris would be the man of the match. And, well, put it this way. He was as important in the second half as he was questionable in the first. Now, the goal that they score to tie it is a low sinking ball, and it sort of short hops him, and it escapes him, right? And Gundogan is there to deposit it, and it's 1-1. That's harsh on Hugo because it's a very difficult. Of course, it's his mistake, right? Like, it comes down to him. He's a world-class goalkeeper. You're supposed to smother that. But the way the ball hits the turf right in front of him, he fumbles that. In fact, most goalkeepers in that spot, they parry it out, right? They don't necessarily have the ability to hang on to it. The unfortunate thing is that it came right to Gundogan, and he was one of, I think, like 5 players in the box for City at that moment, and he puts it in. So that's 1-1. And at this point, you're just sitting there like the whole first half, okay, is just, God fucking, come on. Just get to halftime. It was to the point where I wanted them to score before halftime so that I didn't have to watch the second half. I said that to a number of people I was watching the game alongside with, through text message, whatever. So the writing was completely on the wall for the second part of the first half. Pretty much after Spurs scored in the 4th minute. So you go into the break square, and now Spurs have basically been given second life. Okay. And that's where you go, okay, we're going to fucking do this. We're going to have a couple of chances. None of them are going to go our way. City's going to score a goal. And I'm just going to be angry when I told myself not to be angry about this. This is how I'm entering the second half. Okay. Kane was everywhere. I've seen him in some big games disappear. I've seen him in some other games be an absolute force and be unfucking stoppable. This was as good as I've ever seen him in all facets.
Yeah, I'd
right.
agree.
And Sonny was right there to play the Robin to his Batman again. He puts him. He basically he has the cross on the second goal, I believe. So on 60 minutes, City didn't really do much in the beginning of the second half. Spurs were in the ascendancy.
Then after there is a concerted after the Kane goal. There's a good 10-15 minute period where you're just like, oh shit.
Yes,
you guys are in trouble.
Yes, yeah. Well, and so yeah. And so Kane takes us up 2-1, and the save by Lloris on Gundogan is the shit that I'm talking about. That Huge. Is a save. That's a save that won to maybe, I would say,
the one where he where he's like, I broke my elbow.
Yes, yeah, he full extension on Gundogan. Yeah. I would say there's not more than 3 keepers in the world. Not necessarily even
you don't have to. I mean, you're going to defend your guys. It's a good save. I get it. I just, there's so many things about City that it can be really difficult to talk about City because they looked right. Mm-hmm. I think defensively there was some mistakes, like the Son goal. Diaz steps up, he gets way out of position, but I think he thought the pass from Kane was so good. I think he thought Kane would take a touch because he was like, he's not just going to pass this around a corner on one touch. And Kane had confidence early to put that ball behind.
But we've
had
seen
he taken a touch, he's offside.
Half of last season, right? Like Kane actually, he sees the ball coming, goes, Sonny's over there, right? All he has to do on that first touch is put it into an area. That's the thing. He knows you're playing a high line. He knows Sonny's already got a head of steam going. He just has to go put it where
the runs
going to be close.
And the runs from Son are so good. They're timed perfectly. He's not offside awesome, but he was extra good about not being offside. And I thought that Kulusevski was running with him. And he's that weird winger, those weird wingers that are like Yarmolenko, speaking of Ukrainians. I think they got invaded today, but I'm not sure. It doesn't really matter.
We're not really sure.
In that they're tall and big, and you're like, you're not supposed to be a winger. But he is.
Fast.
Right. And he worked and he was working with the group, and I think that group will come together, and it'll at least give give other teams something to think about. Mora will still be there, but Mora is almost 30, so that was good.
Right.
I think your whole group. I thought Højbjerg was good, even though he'd been terrible. We were really, and I think if we want to be fair, like having Dyer in the side made a difference. There's no doubt about it.
I would have when the lineup came out. I was talking to a friend and. I would have, I guess, had Sanchez in for Davies, which is very much a pick your poison scenario. But having Eric Dyer calmed everything down. And Dyer and Romero are a fucking force. They're very similar style of play, and they feed off of each other in a very, very advantageous way for Spurs in the back. So they're going to get into their fair share of trouble because they are both aggressive type center backs. They try to take a bite out of a challenge here and there. So there will be problems down the line, but they will be far more beneficial than they are harmful if they are consistently a pair for the rest of this season and beyond. But I think one player I want to bring up in speaking of the Tottenham defense, the other signing, Bentancur, was terrific. Rodrigo Bentancur, he pocketed Kevin De Bruyne. There really wasn't much for De Bruyne to do in this game, and that came down to Bentancur being all around him. There were 3 or 4 instances I was just watching before we started recording where he makes a sliding tackle on him, or he just like completely dispossesses De Bruyne, which that's not something that happens frequently.
No, yeah, I mean De Bruyne did not have a great game. Only 70% pass completion. He didn't lead the team in shot creating actions. Only had 3, so he did not have a great game. He had a lot of touches, but he didn't affect the game.
Right. Like and we were saying it just before we started recording. It was an instance where Spurs played great, but it wasn't like City played poorly. City played decent. They've had their chances.
I think there was a couple of mistakes on the goals. I think the offside the Diaz got turned around. I think that sort of caused a problem.
Sure.
I wouldn't say. I think when City lose games, this was not a we had lots of chances and didn't take them. The chances we had were okay. It wasn't one of those. And Spurs has the players to beat City. Like Spurs played their best game that they've played probably since the last time they played City, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
So there's that. City did pull level. I think the penalty, I didn't like it. It didn't make me happy.
You miss. I mean, we've got the
offside
VAR
goal,
before
whatever.
that,
Yeah.
right? So we're sitting there, and as soon as that doesn't go Spurs' way,
I mean, that gave the team a lift.
Here we go, right? So
Yeah.
I think this is one where you start to feel not if, but when is this going to gut punch?
Well, can I take one step back? The second Kane goal is fucking incredible, by the way.
The second one that counted?
Yeah, the one that counted.
Yeah.
In the 60th minute. First of all,
Right.
Sessegnon was in a part of it. I'm always going to hold on to Sessegnon as my guy. He's one of my sons from the championship. So I want him to be good. But he's part of he gets the hockey assist. But the finish is not easy at all. And he made it look easy. It's on the half volley, on the run. He starts the move, gets it to Sessegnon in the first place, who then kicks it on to Sonny, who puts it into Kane. So all of it was Kane.
Mm-hmm.
It was just one of these things where he's doing that. He's the 10 and the 9. How he's finding that energy in that fight. It was very much. I like to use the Michael Jordan one. It's a fuck you game. It's like, yeah, we're not doing this sale.
Yeah.
Okay, we're doing this then. I'm showing you what you're missing.
I'm reading,
and I don't get to see Kane all the time as much as you do. So this is one of those where you go, oh, fuck, god damn it! It's one of those.
It's
things
weird having that guy and still not being that good. Like it's very very. It's like watching. This is a hockey
nice
reference, but it's like watching. It's like watching the Oilers. Thank you. It's like watching like Connor McDavid do what he does in Edmonton, and you're like, how the fuck are you not really good by now? And
we blink sport, right? You just need one or two.
But
one, you have only one defensive pairing, and you need 3, and all those other 2 guys you're just hanging on.
I'm trying to find where in the because it was after the VAR. Goal was taken back. It would have been 3-1 for good, but Ederson makes a huge save off of Kane. I forget.
Harry Kane saved on 64 from Son and Betancourt.
Oh, so it was before. It was before the. Oh, that's right. No. It doesn't matter. In the second half,
it's right before the Gundogan shot.
Oh, right. Okay. Yes, that's right. Because that's right. That went almost a 1-2, which would have just decimated me.
Right, and that was the 10-minute period from about 60 through to about 75 that City put a lot of pressure.
Yep.
Yeah. And you were getting nervous.
Yeah, and so Kane goes down in like 80th, and I'm like, yep, here you go. VAR, yep. Kane injury, yep. Let's see what else is going to happen next. Like Spurs missing a huge opportunity. It was like check all the boxes of a Spurs City match. When Kane went down, I was no longer concerned about winning the game. I just didn't want to lose it at that moment. And obviously, late in the game, it's a shit penalty in the sense that it is the correct call. Right?
I don't want it though. There's
no question about that. Well, hold on. I didn't want you to have it.
I fucking hated it. I did. I was like, this is bullshit.
But sure. But let's be clear. Christian Mero goes to ground. He puts his hand in front of his face so that he does not break his very pretty Argentinian nose. And it hits him in the wrist. Look, is the hand away from his body? No. Is a hand in an unnatural position? No. So on paper, I actually still have some I have some qualms with that rule. I don't think that's one that you realistically.
I hate it. I didn't want it. I was like, this is bullshit. So we had the draw.
Well, hold on, because now that you've got drama, because Loris owns you guys on penalties.
Oh,
right?
I wasn't worried about that.
Well,
Yes,
I was hopeful. And you know what? Mahrez put it where nobody could stop it.
it
Because if
was a
he
good
didn't
penalty.
have it, if he put it anywhere close, because Loris guessed right and he got a good push, he
Yeah.
was going to stop that.
Yeah.
So it was a very, very well taken penalty. And yeah, I mean, at that point, you're like, okay, well, it's been the penalty, it's been the VAR review. You already have 6 minutes. They're going to give City as much time as they need. Like that was genuinely the feel that I had watching this. I'm like 6 minutes, 14
We're not
minutes.
loved. Are you kidding? Who are you kidding?
I'm telling you, and I have a piece of data to back that up. But so out of
What do you
almost
mean?
nowhere,
Everyone hates City. Everyone, the whole world.
everyone.
Hates
I think
us.
that's one thing you and I have in common. But
Crazy.
out of nowhere, right? Kulusevski runs down the flank. I think it was Betancourt that put the ball into him, and in comes Kane in the 95th minute, and he buries Kyle Walker, which, by the way, on replay made this even better.
Yeah, he was kind of weak.
I couldn't believe it, right? Like there's no way that Tottenham just won this game for arguably the fourth fucking time.
You did.
At the Etihad. And so of all of the dramatic games that we've had, this is, I mean, it's not number one. It can't ever be number one, but like, this is comfortably the second best Tottenham Manchester City game I think I've ever, been a part of as a fan. So, but I will say there were two things. A, if you watch the replay of Pep crumbling and Conte
that was amazing.
shitting his pants,
that's amazing.
I forget the name of the fourth official, but he gives like a disgusted look when the ball goes in. So I'm like, you motherfuckers.
Oh, come on, get out of here.
Anyway,
I give a lot of respect to Spurs. I think what's interesting to me is the entire Premier League industrial complex is like, oh, thank God. And we'll go into Liverpool. Liverpool are at Anfield. They go down a goal to Norwich and they win it. And the effusion for Liverpool getting the lead in this game is like as though they beat the greatest team ever. Yeah. It's fucking Norwich. One of the worst teams in the league. Fine. Mane with a good goal. Alisson with a cross to Salah who scores a goal. And then Diaz gets a goal as well. So Liverpool do what they're supposed to do, which is beat Norwich 3-1. It was dramatic. But is the league back on? Is the whole thing going?
They couldn't even let Tottenham have a goal celebration without shoving that in. And that was the problem I had. Is that in the context of this game, now I hate people who are fly-by Tottenham fans. What I mean by that are folks who are fans of other teams who need Tottenham to show up, usually when they play City or Liverpool or United or something like that.
No, but that's the nature of fandom. That's what
you know what? Do. I wanted to lose so that they would be mad because I woke up going, we have to play Manchester City today. I'm not going to be happy, but if you can also be unhappy, then I couldn't be happy. And so the problem
I'm going to be rooting for Leeds harder than I've ever rooted for every team.
Well, sure, absolutely. And look, is it good for the league that there seems to be the idea of a title race? Yeah, sure. Great. Terrific. I'm psyched about it. But you know what? Manchester City is still so much fucking better than Liverpool on paper. It's not close. Yes,
they are.
Yes, they are.
It's very close.
It's not close.
It is.
Look, here's one thing. Liverpool has a gripe. Fine. But I heard from a Chelsea fan who was like, hey, thanks for beating City. I'm like, what fucking delusion are you under?
Fuck you. Don't even talk.
Let me be very clear. Chelsea, Tottenham are closer to Chelsea than Chelsea are to Manchester City. Okay? Yeah. So why don't we just put that one on for size and say, wait a second.
Get out of here.
You don't have a fucking prayer of being anywhere close to these two teams. And we've been saying that on the show for a long time. So I think it was the combination of hearing from a number of fans, United fans included, who just hate you and want, but like,
that's fine. They can hate.
But if you have to choose between City and Liverpool winning the league as a United fan, wouldn't you just pick ISIS? I don't know. But like, if there's anybody who doesn't have a dog in the fight and then gets to say that they were rooting for Tottenham, you don't get to ever sit at a Chelsea Arsenal game and have everybody stand up if you hate Tottenham. You guys are so obsessed with us that you can't be there and say, hey, nice job. You guys beat City. Go fucking fist yourself out of here with that. Yeah, Liverpool fans, I have another gripe with you because I'm just nobody nobody deserves to be sad as much as you do, because you
nobody.
act like beating Norwich. You act like anything that your club accomplishes should be remembered for time in memoriam and just never not talked about, to the point where Manchester City have been significantly, and I mean significantly better than you. You threw your absolute best punch, the best punch your team's history has ever had, and City fucking beat them. And they stand there and they have the dick and or balls to still talk about how great that Liverpool squad was. Are you crazy? They didn't win a goddamn thing. So the next time you talk to me about being trophyless cunts, how about we talk about the fact that you guys just can't get over the fact that you are in love with yourselves and nobody else, and that's why everybody should hate you and not Manchester City. This guise of financial fair play unfairness
I fucking hate it.
Oh, get over yourselves. Just knock it the fuck off, okay? One of your owners is LeBron James. I don't want to hear about how you poor penniless Liverpool. Okay, this is not the same thing. There's
I can't deal with there's just like constant din of City and their money. I mean, it's 15 years already. They literally have created a structure to move on. I hate that 13-14 is Liverpool losing the league and not City winning the league. Yaya Toure had 20 goals. I'm still salty. He should have been the PFA Player of the Year, but instead all we see is Gerrard slipping. It becomes the Liverpool season. My team won't be loved, and I have to accept that glory has to be earned. I think I've had this rant before. It's going to take another 20 years. It's going to take a European night classic where City wins. It's going to take a long time that teams like Liverpool have had their narrative built on fucking Bill Shankly and his communist socialist fucking City. He literally would say, I am a socialist. That's what your club ethos is, but you don't really care about other people because you're full of shit. You don't have jobs in Liverpool, as far as I understand. Then a bunch of Scousers tried to attack Phil Foden's mom at a fight, which was fucked up. That happened.
I feel like
Scouser slapped a woman in the face.
Did she put out a cigarette on somebody's forehead? That's what I see when I see Phil Foden's mom.
Phil Foden's mom's got a nice rack. She's a little round, feisty bitch.
All right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Have you seen the video? It's pretty incredible.
I haven't. I'll look it up right after we're done.
Definitely look that up. So Phil Foden was at the fight in Manchester, famous English fighters, and these guys just started fucking with him in his suite, and his mom comes out and slaps a guy in the face.
I love that.
And then she gets hit, and then he comes out for a second. He's like, wait a minute, I'm Phil Foden. I got to go back in this room. And then another guy comes and starts swinging a fucking a fire extinguisher. It was pretty intense.
Oh, that's outstanding.
And then, of course, because they're Scousers, they're giggling like this is normal, fun stuff. This is sick people. Anyway, I don't like Liverpool. I understand that City have to earn their glory and have their moments, and we will see you on April 4th at the Etihad. But what's crazy is City won 13 of 14, 43 of 45 points. They lose one fucking game,
right?
And it's back on.
Yeah.
Liverpool are a worthy opponent. I hate them, but they are fucking good. And that goddamn Anfield roar, and I say it with sadness, my stadium right here, Main Road, was the equivalent of fucking Anfield, and it was torn down. And I have this to say, as I think about things, when you lose your home, it fucking matters. You can never get it back. It is a thing that is missing. You can't recreate it. You can't find that energy. The Etihad will never be Main Road. The London Stadium will never be the Bowling Ground, or those teams. Highbury will never come back. You'll never have old Spurs Stadium. It's gone. White Hart Lane won't ever come back. So it is a shame. It does suck that modern economics require it. But Anfield has that. So they have an advantage. Old Trafford has it. They have an advantage to be in their homes. And we can go talk about fucking Ellen Road and Manchester United playing Leeds. Those ancestral homes, that fucking matters, right? Like, I was watching an old Seinfeld, and they cut to George being at Yankee Stadium, and I saw the bat, and I saw, Yankee Stadium. I was like, it's fucking gone. And I just was like, it's not the same. It wasn't worth it.
No.
It's never worth it. Unless, of course, your team is shit, and Shea Stadium, nobody misses Shea Stadium. But anyway, that's a whole nother sport. That's a whole nother thing. But we have to remember these places. They hold the memories, right? They hold time. And I think it's unfair that Liverpool get to fucking hold on to shit because they have their memories of every game at Anfield. It's the same stadium. They live in the same dilapidated neighborhood.
It's the same
Everything's
seats.
still falling apart. It's all the same.
Yeah.
And City have to overcome that and create their memories within the context of the Etihad, which we have one memory, whereas Liverpool has all of their memories.
Yeah.
Right? I'm sure there's not fucking Claudio Reyna 2002. Oh, remember that time they scored a goal to stay out of the relegation zone? I don't think those don't hold moments, right?
No.
So City have to create that, and hopefully we can. I don't know what I was talking about. I just hate Liverpool so much.
Well, you were gonna transition to the Leeds United game, but I'm gonna hold on that one second. I want to look through a little bit more of, because you know what, whether I like it or not, it's good for the league that we do have a title race. Do I think it might be short-lived? Yeah. Do I think City are going to come out basically as if we kicked the hornet's nest and ran away before any of them showed up?
How much better can they get is the problem.
They can't get better. They can get angrier. And Everton on Saturday is going to get, like, if the spread is 4, take it. Like, City is going to beat them, and they're going to make a fucking statement and an example out of them. They're like, hey, you first, and then your fucking neighbors.
I think one thing that I didn't bring up was City had played in the week, and that made a difference. There was a little bit of something missing. Little.
We talked about it. Well, so did Spurs didn't, I suppose. A little. No.
Now, City didn't make any changes. They only made one change, which when Pep complains, shut the fuck up, because you didn't even use your subs.
That's true. And in a 5-0 game, so against Sporting in midweek that we talked about before on the last show. But yeah, I mean, look, there are tough games on City's running, okay? They have to play. They host United on March 6th. That has now become a fucking massive game. In fact, after Everton, that's the next Premier League game for City. They go to Palace, never easy. They host Brighton. That's not easy. Burnley it should be a laugher. Then the big one on April 9th, where they host Liverpool, okay?
They don't have an easy run in either. Wolves.
No, and I was getting to that.
Yeah.
But also, I happen to notice that I'm trying to find where the first match was between these two clubs this season. I'm getting there eventually. We're like with Liverpool.
Drew 2-2.
Okay, yeah. They drew 2-2. at that's right, at Anfield. So Big Ben Anfield is not on their side in the specific case of that game. They're going to have to go to the Etihad, and they're going to have to perform. So that's another feather in City's cap. You've got Wolves, not an easy game, but a winnable game. If you're the champions, you go win that game. Watford, Leeds, Newcastle, West Ham, and Villa to end the season. Show me the drop points, right? Like, so even if Liverpool pull off that win and you're even, and you're probably down on goal difference at that point, okay? Between now and then, Liverpool, West Ham, Brighton, Arsenal, Man United, you guys obviously, Villa, Everton, Newcastle, Spurs. Hey, everybody will be a Spurs supporter that day too. I'll tell you that right fucking now. Newcastle, Wolves. So a lot of the same, but I still think looking at this, and they also, by the way, they have the coming up on next Sunday, the EFL Cup final against Chelsea. So they're already have 1 or 2 more games packed in than City over the course of the next 2.5 months.
They're both going to be trying to win the Champions League.
They're both going to be going hard on the Champions League. So
they may end up facing each other, which would suck.
That would be hilarious. But yeah, no, you're both going to be in the quarterfinals. So God knows how that draw is going to go. But there's not many bye rounds left.
Could be 4 English teams easily.
It could. It's certainly going to be 3.
Atletico's terrible.
It's certainly going to be 3. Yeah. Chelsea's going to beat, they playing Lille. So, and that's this week too,
Lille is not a fucking hotbed of, I mean, they're a good team. They've won the league. They're there for a reason, but they're not in the class of
no, of course
English
not.
teams at all.
But so effectively what I'm saying is you've got, for Liverpool, the difference is Arsenal and Tottenham you are still left on Arsenal's schedule versus clubs like Leeds and Watford, right? I think Liverpool doesn't play Watford. Oh no, they do. The point being, I think that City has a more advantageous schedule in the sense that
there's basically 5 more drop points left. That's it.
For either
whoever
team.
drops 5 first loses.
Well, and that's and all that comes down to is April 9th, essentially. Then, right?
Maybe 6. Whoever first to drop 6 loses. That'd be my guess.
Yeah, definitely.
Because that would mean you lost the derby and you lost to someone else.
Yep.
Or you drew lots and lots of games.
But yeah, I mean,
that would be my guess. 6 more drop points. And
it's going to be, I mean, as we look at them, like Leeds will play into Liverpool's strength. They're going to win.
They're going to get blown.
They're going to get off them. Kick the shit out of.
Unless we sort of go, hey, but Leeds have just played we're going to go into this Leeds game. This United game where it was full-throated 1990 Leeds, dirty Leeds. Like, I don't think this is one of these moments where if you're not a Premier League fan or you're one of our dwindling American fans, but hey, hello England. Leeds v United is a real deal hatred rivalry. It's municipal. It's cities hating each other. It's got long history. Leeds were the last team to win the championship before the Premier League was started. So they were the last champion. They did beat United. Remember, Ferguson was the manager from 86. He had been there already 5 years before the Premier League even starts. So there's a lot of history before the Premier League even starts, young folks. And Leeds versus Manchester United is a big game, and it just went right back to it. And that comes from the Leeds fans who are very much the Millwall of the North.
Yeah, they don't forget. It's funny because, United gets shit, like all their fans travel up from London, right? But Leeds, like, no, we've been here the whole fucking time. We've been here
down. The whole time, suffering, and I mean,
right, exactly,
suffering.
Like this
going
is our
down
chance to punch you.
Two levels. They have. Yeah. They probably have stronger. I mean, they have stronger history than City, but they were in the wilderness, and they're happy to be back, and they have Bielsa, and they came to fight, and it was wet, and it was dirty, and McTominay seemed to embody the power of United. They went in hard. The guys got tackled. They were wet. They were cold. They were fucking water sheens of the ball stopping. They essentially had a torrential rain at halftime that soaked Ellen Road, who, if you remember last season, remember the pitch kept falling apart?
Yes.
It's still not quite there yet.
Yeah.
So Leeds came out. It looked like United was going to have an easy game. They scored 2 goals early. They scored their first headed goal by Slabhead himself. They had 140 straight corners without a fucking goal, which is pretty crazy for that team with Ronaldo and Slabhead, Harry Maguire. But he was into it. Then Bruno Fernandes got a goal as well. And then in 2 minutes, Leeds get themselves back into the game in the second half. Rodrigo comes on, who we know is it Rodrigo? Rafinha comes on, who we know is like the greatest player, not in the top 6, basically. Although maybe Coutinho now takes the title. And Rodrigo does a cross. It goes in. Then Daniel James, who's turned out to be pretty good.
He's been a little plucky down the stretch, huh? He's been coming of age.
And listen, he wasn't good at United. Maybe the club was too big to him. I do think that in a year's time, United are going to be like, maybe we should have kept him and not Ronaldo. Because he's the kind of player that Rangnick would have been like, yes, fucking press, you little bastard.
Yeah, he's a psychotic little.
He's a psychotic runner. And they get back into the game, but then, United's quality just come through. And, Leeds defense is just fucking laughable at this point. Alanga misses one, but then scores one on the break. And it was a fun game to watch. It really enjoyable, cold and wet and rainy and salty and just classic War of the Roses, Lancashire versus everyone. And United do keep their place in the top 4, but their friends from London, their historical rivals, are, as we talk about Ferguson, we can talk about Wenger, and we can talk about Arsenal pulling it together, Smith Rowe and Saka, making things work. I did see there was some hate for Lacazette. Every time I watch Lacazette, I'm like, he's fucking good.
He's inconsistent though. It's hard,
Yeah,
right?
but
And I mean,
his problem is he doesn't finish. You want him to score, but he does the job, right? He drops short. He he draws fouls. He brings other players in. Like, you want him to get more finishes and more goals, but he's doing Giroud's things, right?
so we're looking at a tremendously important week here coming up for the top 4 race. Who's real, who's not? And there are 3 questions we have. As West Ham, by the way, we're not going to cover it probably. 1-1 with Newcastle. Huge point for Newcastle. But again, really West Ham dropping points in games at home that they should win. They're not real, right? Like, they're on 26 games played. They're 4 points behind United. Conversely, Arsenal are on 42 points with 23 games played. Wolves are on 40 points with 24 games played, and Spurs are on 39 points with 23. So those are the 3 teams I'm focusing on right now, because you're looking at the fixtures coming up. You've got Burnley, Spurs, and I mean, shit, if you can beat the fucking champions, you can go to Burnley on a Wednesday night, he said foolishly.
You know what? No, because you can't counterattack against Burnley. You're going to have to break them down.
No, I know. But so largely, let's pretend that Spurs win this game, okay? For now, it really is irrelevant for the moment.
Really hard.
I know. It's irrelevant because you're going to have Arsenal and Wolves playing again, because it's a postponed game from earlier in the season at the Emirates. Huge game. This is where Wolves stand up and be counted or fall back into the nether regions of the under.
They can't score.
Dude, I disagree. I disagree. They sold Adama Traore and they stopped having all of their golden chances hit into row Z. These guys can finish. Raul Jimenez is back.
Score.
No, I disagree. I'm not saying they're scoring 4 and 5 goals a game. They can get off the mark now. And I think Jimenez is really become a really important player. That the player that they've missed really since he got hurt. What was that? Almost 2 years ago now. And by the way, Pedro Neto is close to returning and makes a huge difference if he's anywhere close to healthy. A huge question.
The player that they have that makes the difference for them is Jose Sa, who is keeper of the season. Sure. He's the Emi Martinez of this season. Remember, we talked that, but he's the guy that's dragging them on.
But if they're not going to, if they can't score, they're not making the top 4. I don't care if they have Jose Sa or you in net, right? So you're absolutely right. This is part of the reason they are where they are right now. But now they need to kick on. They need to win games. You're not playing the Everton, Leeds, Brentford part of the schedule right now. You're playing Tottenham, who you took care of business with a week ago. Now you're going into the Emirates, right? You just had a game at home where you dropped the game 1-0 despite being 20 minutes up a man at the end of the game. You couldn't get that equalizer. So now you have a chance to rectify that, right? Do you take advantage of it? Or does Arsenal take that chance and go, hey, Man United, knock, knock, knock. We're right on your ass with 2 games in hand. So that's a huge few days. Again, to Spurs, even if Spurs win, right? They're on 42. Arsenal can render it irrelevant, essentially. And of course, now that I say this, both teams will draw and the top 4 race will be effectively over. But I'm excited for the Arsenal Wolves match on Thursday because I think that's going to teach us if we really have a top 4 race or if we have a couple of pretenders.
That's a game where it will be determined if it's Moutinho and Neves. Granit Xhaka has to not fuck up. That is the game. In the midfield. Because Smith Rowe, because Partey's been playing well. He was good in this game. Odegaard was incredible versus Brentford. Like, he's really, really, really special. And when he figures out that he can shoot and score goals, he has not put that into his game yet. He has the runners with him. They were so good. Like, I really enjoyed watching Arsenal. Now, granted, like I said, they are going to make their hay against the bottom half of the league where they can play. This will be a game that I think Arsenal will like their chances against Wolves because they're like, okay, so we just played somebody who sits deep and tries to hit on the break. We can do this, but it'll be whether Moutinho and Neves can stop Partey and Odegaard to a lesser extent, and make sure that Xhaka does not fuck it up. Because this is the type of game where it's salty, it's Connor Cody, it's bad weather. Wolves are a traditional team. They have the Englishness that's necessary. I think the Portuguese secretly play English football, weirdly, when they're in England.
Some like the top 1% don't, and then the rest of them are like Pepe, right?
Yeah,
they're like they've got the Englishness.
Yeah, so I kind of like that. I really like Moutinho, even though he's old. I like the idea of that old central midfielder that's hanging in there, and it'll be a battle of the midfield. I could see Wolves being like, "We'll take that 0-0, and then we'll take shots and see what happens there."
Yeah,
but that should be going really well. The less talked about this Chelsea game, the better. I think Chelsea are in a weird spot right now where it's Champions League. They've got the EFL, but they're really locked into that third slot. They really can't go anywhere. I can't imagine United catching them because they're so much better than United. But they could get dragged in if they keep slotting around. They could be pulled into 3 out of make that extra third spot available. There's still
the only team that they can make it available to is United, right? Like,
yes.
The worst Chelsea can do, they're not going to finish 5th. Okay, so no. The worst thing that could happen to this top 4 race is United kick on and they start to catch Chelsea, because then they both are basically out of sight. But I think Chelsea are effectively a cup team this year. Their relative indifference to where they are in the Premier League, especially off the backs of a few like fucking miraculous wins, especially the one this weekend, it sort of makes them a much more dangerous cup team. They're in the EFL final. I believe they're in the FA Cup 5th round, or the quarterfinals.
Yes.
And obviously, starting on Wednesday, they'll be in in this round of 16 of the Champions League with an easy matchup. So in all likelihood, they'll be in a final and 2 quarterfinals right off the jump. They could do 3 trophies this year without really thinking about it, and cruising in the Premier League without losing that much room.
The issue they have in this, they're almost like a rich man's Wolves, right? Like, they can't score. They because they've got this Lukaku problem where he literally did not show up in this game. Whether it's the way, I don't know what happens when you put on the fucking number 9 shirt for Chelsea, but unless you're Didier Drogba, or you just simply vanish. Mm-hmm. They've got Havertz. If we go over the last 10 years, they've probably spent more than $500,000 on strikers and have nothing. Yeah. And they fleeced the greatest fleece job in fucking history when they sold Eden Hazard, fat Eden Hazard. They fucking pulled the wool over Madrid's eyes, and they spent it on German players, and they're getting nothing from up front. And unless they get these sort of goals from their wingers, which they got with Ziyech, and they were getting from Reece James, and getting from what's the other guy that got injured? Chilwell. All their goals were coming from defense. Yeah. Without those goals from defense or wing backs, they're fucked. But the thing is like, they have this weird thing where the theoretical Chelsea is really good, like better than any team in the league, right? What if 20-goal Werner shows up? What if 15-goal Havertz shows up? What if 20-goal, 25-goal Lukaku shows up? Then all of a sudden, they're not stoppable.
Yeah,
but it doesn't exist.
No, I think Ziyech has really been coming of age in the last, call it, month or so.
He's 30, coming of age. How old? He's 28 years old.
28. All right. Well, my point, it's only his 2nd season in the Premier League, right?
Yes,
so
that's right.
And he's really, what my point is that he's been bedded in. He's become an important player that they bought. They thought they bought, right? Like, so he's been as good as Lukaku has been bad lately, and I think that's been the difference in a few games.
Lukaku's so bad,
but my question then becomes, well, who else is going to be his supporting cast, right? Like you mentioned, Werner. Is this his time to shine, right? How many times do we have to hear about Thomas Tuchel just smoking Romelu Lukaku in the media? When are you going to give Werner a go, right? At this point.
Yeah.
Again. Yeah. So I I don't know what the answer is for Chelsea up front, but you're right.
It's not
Alvaro
Christian
Morata,
Pulisic.
right? Like, and that's the other thing, like you have all of this attacking talent. It's almost as if they have the similar problem as City, except they have a couple of number 9s and they wish they didn't, right? Like they have all these...
right. They should just not do it. Right.
Yeah,
They should just go the other way. And just go the other way. Yeah, I agree. I'm just looking at the lineup that they played. Lukaku, Ziyech, Havertz. How are they not? Is Mason Mount hurt? Like,
I think so.
He's the one that makes the whole thing work.
Mm-hmm.
Without Mount, I guess they had a lot of guys hurt. Their team's weird. I don't know what they're up to. Like they had to bring fucking Loftus-Cheek back in. That's how you know they were in trouble.
Yeah.
Anytime you see Loftus-Cheek, you're like, oh, that guy.
Oh, boy.
He's their Nathan Ake.
He's their Deli.
Yeah, I mean, they have been hurt.
He's
I'm not gonna
Deli.
Yeah, we're not gonna like lament the pains of Chelsea, but they are good. They do have a good coach. They just have to figure out the Lukaku thing. Otherwise, they've got $100 million millstone. I think he has just disappeared since that fake controversy where he's like, I want to go back to Inter. I was like, oops.
So wait, I brought this up in the Squeaky Bum Time Facebook group, which you are all welcome and encouraged to join.
Yeah.
And I put a poll, and let me see what the results of that poll were. But last I saw, the question was, who spent $100 million worse, Manchester City on Jack Grealish or Chelsea on Romelu Lukaku again? So I put that out there without much context, and the votes, it was close. It was 60-40 Grealish over Lukaku.
Whatever.
And I think that's coming off the weekend's events, shall we say.
Well, Grealish isn't even playing, so doesn't matter.
This guy. But also, I think that there's not really, we've talked about it on the show, but I don't think that there's a broader appreciation for what Grealish sort of is meant to be. But also think back to when they purchased Grealish, and we've talked about this.
KDB was a question mark.
He was on one leg, right?
Yeah,
like,
he was a mess.
He
literally said, I should not have played. They gave me painkillers in my ankle.
Right. He was playing for love of country in the Euros,
yeah.
And he was remarkable, by the way.
Yeah.
But it was always a question, like, is he really going to be able to go again for City at this point? Or is he going to miss a couple of months? Or is something else? So Grealish not getting into the side is twofold. A, De Bruyne, thankfully, you don't want players like that to be hurt, all world players like that. Thankfully has come good and he's been okay. But also Jack Grealish and Phil Foden were fucking off, right? Like Foden got the headlines, but Grealish was right there with him, being idiots, going out, having a good time. When Pep was like, don't be an asshole, right?
City has the luxury of being like, you're playing great. And he says it every time. And to be fair, Grealish has been good. He's had to completely rewire his brain to Pep ball and go away from, I drop for the ball, it comes to me, and then I just sit on it and just fuck around. And he can't do that anymore. And he's slowly had to get out of it. He's taken his shots. It's $100 million price tag. I'm not worried about him because there's been so many players that have come through City, from Mahrez to Bernardo to even Raheem Sterling has been in and out and he comes back. That's the beauty of City. If you drop your levels, you don't play.
Mm-hmm.
Period. I don't care who the fuck you are. There's no automatics. The only automatic player on that team is Ederson and Diaz. And that's it. And if Diaz starts to fuck up, if you don't think that Pep Guardiola will go to John Stones and Laporte, he will.
Yeah.
Right? It's not in stone. Otamendi was the fucking main center back on a team that earned 100 points. He was gone in 18 months. It's like, bye, fuck off.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is the nature of City, that you can buy $100 million player. It's not the end of the world. We just go, all right, when he's ready.
Yeah.
Now, other teams can't do that.
No, other teams can't do that. But also, like you said, he had to basically adjust the way he plays the game. But he was bought, at least maybe, and they were hoping it wouldn't be the immediate future, but with the KDB less future in mind.
They always reload. They have a whole system of, like, Rodri came in before Fernandinho was washed up, and they kind of Oh, can they play together? Oh, they play some. We had that weird season where all the center backs got hurt and he had to play in defense. And, Rodri was a problem. Now this season, along with Silva, he's probably been City's best player. And it took 3 years for him to get into that level. So Grealish is 25. He'll peak at 27. De Bruyne will probably be off the team by then.
Yeah, he'll be part-time player.
Of movement.
So if we were to look at this poll in 2 years, we'll probably be laughing at it, right? Like,
he might be player of the year by then.
Lukaku will be back in Italy scoring for Juventus or some shit, and Grealish will be
black players in Italy.
Well, he did it for Inter, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it never goes well.
Well, my point is that Grealish will have 10 and 10, and he'll be powering City to near the top of the table.
Yeah, with him and Foden and maybe Harry Kane, or maybe
you start that again.
Or what's the other guy that Alvarez that just scored a hat trick in a couple?
Right, yeah. The new rumor is that Kane's going to run down the contract now. So they're so tired of making rumors about him leaving that now they're going to say, actually, he's just going to stay next year and then run it down and leave on a free.
What'll happen is whoever doesn't get the Haaland. Mbappe thing will come after Kane.
Sure.
Right? And that might be City again. I don't know. Maybe this time they'll just do it. Maybe Levy will be like, you know what, Conte, you're a pain in my fucking ass.
It's still so weird to me that we sit here and they're top of the table. They've lost in the EFL Cup for the first time since the War of 1812, but they have won off the most goals in the league. And they're sitting here still talking about their striker problem. Was striker really the problem?
No. Well, I mean, technically, yes, because we literally don't have one.
No, but like the idea that you need one is it's made up. It's made up.
It is English problems and English issues of you must have one. If you don't have one, what will we do?
Right, and exactly. We're just going to talk about how you don't have one, even though you have 63 goals in 26 games played, even though you're comfortably into the quarterfinals of the Champions League, even though you've won the fucking title.
Only when we lose do we need a striker.
Right. But that's the thing is that Kyle Walker got abused on that last goal. Do you need a new right back? No. No. You don't. You just got beat. You got beat for the third time in 26 games, 2 of which by Tottenham, by the way. And this is not a problem. You're just not the team that's going to defeat everybody 5-0 38 times in a row. That's what we learned. That's what we learned.
But that's what I love. I love it. I'm nervous. I'm scared. I don't want to play Liverpool. I'm glad it's not at Anfield where but we could potentially have some classics. We've got City going to Manchester. We've got the Manchester derby. We've got Liverpool versus Manchester still to come. We've got Leeds is going to show up versus Liverpool because they have pride.
Oh, no, they're not. But we've got Spurs. They've always going to Anfield. I think going to Anfield.
Yeah, we've got some barn burners still to come. Less concerned about Chelsea, but this race is not over. And City, there's going to be some moments. And what is the cliches? Twists in the tail. I don't know where these English people are twisting people's tails. That sounds really fucking painful. It sounds like something the Nazis would do.
It's a fairy tale,
because they have tails. Oh, no, they don't.
Come on. Let's go home.
No. Anyway. No, I don't mean that. We're all just kidding around. That was the Squeaky Bum Time Podcast with Mike and Laurent. We're not anti-Semitic. Definitely not Mike. Maybe me. We are the football wing of the Chop Sports Network. We record on Tuesdays and Fridays, so be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss a show. We don't want to go over an hour because then time runs out. 58.